Hey guys, Prangell Gaming here. Welcome back to Talk the Wall. This is the 32nd installment. Before we get right into your responses, any questions you may have had. If you haven't seen any of the other 31 installments, then why not go check them out? There's going to be a link in the description of this video for the last Talk the Wall. Or if you like to access the playlist, then why not click the I button, as then you can catch up with anything you may have missed. But as always, if you have any questions or opinions, do feel free to put them in the comments section of this video, because I want a Millwall voice throughout. While you're down there, you might as well put your score predictions for the league game at home against Southend United in the comments section. While you're down there, add your opinions on what you felt went right and wrong in that match. Do bear in mind, I recorded this on Monday, so if anything has become outdated, or if any new news stories have appeared, then I'll cover them next week in the next Talk the Wall. Let's take a look at your predictions for the two games that Millwall played. The first is Walsall, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start with them first. We return to the normal, no one got the predictions right for this game, and in fact, the closest scoreline wasn't too far off, and it was by both Dylan Gaming and Joe Conway, as they said the Lions would win 1-0 against Walsall. 2-0 was the next closest scoreline, as Elite She, Ronnie Temple and Jadams all weren't so far off the score. It's Hardcore and Alfie Ross both were off by 3 goals, as was Joe Holloway, with Joe saying that he thought Millwall would win by 3, and Alfie and It's Hardcore thought that Walsall would score and Millwall would grab 2 goals to win that game. Moving on to your predictions against Coventry, and there are a few that were close, but no one was spot on. 4 of you said that the scoreline would end 2-1 to the Lions, which was just 1 goal off of the actual scoreline. Those 4 predictors were Dylan Gaming, Joe Conway, It's Hardcore, and Alfie Ross. And Alfie also added, no one's better than Millwall. Mill. The next closest was Joe Holloway, who thought that the Lions would grab 1 more goal than they did in the game. Ronnie Temple then thought it would end 1 apiece, which was some way off, to be honest. And finally, Elite She and Jadam said that the score would end 3-1, and Elite She said something very important to take note of. And he said, we might be unbeaten, but we need to win. Something that I definitely agree with there. Right, last week I asked you the question, who would you want in the FA Cup? And I'll now be revealing who you said. We'll start with Ronnie Temple, who said that he wanted Burnley at Turf Moor. An interesting decision, may I add, as Burnley would likely want to challenge for it because they're doing okay in the Premier League at the moment. Joe Holloway was a bit more ambitious with his choice, as he said he wanted Manchester City, home or away, because we'd smash them no matter what. I feel that he might be getting slightly carried away with that one there. And Elite She also wanted a side from Manchester, however it was the red side, as he wanted Manchester United maybe to get some revenge on them for what they did to us last time we played them. A Premier League side at the Den was the next choice, and it was Jadams who said that he would prefer someone like Spurs, as they look like they can be beaten, as what Wickham almost proved that they could knock them out. But Jadams wasn't the only person that thought the Lions would get Spurs, as DJ Dr. Pepsi Jew also said that he expected Mill to get Spurs. The final 3 to say who they wanted were Alfie Ross, Mickey Mohammed and Harry CD. Alfie said he wanted Lincoln City at the Den, as did Harry CD, but Harry said, can't decide whether I want Lincoln at home or a big Prem team. I'm hoping for Lincoln because there's no way a conference team will get through to the quarters. Well, can I just add, you may be surprised. The passion and the momentum can get you anywhere. Look at how far Millwall have gone in this cup, and we're beating 2 Premier League sides. Mickey said he wanted Sutton United at home, but I think Sutton will be much happier with a home tie against Arsenal. Before we move into your comments this week, I want to pose a question like I did last week, and that question is, who do you think has been the best signing over the 2 windows this season? If you could say why, that would also be very great. And I will also tell you who I think's been my personal favourite of the signings this season. 2 of you left your comments this week, and the first was Joe Holloway, who commented on the penalty shout by Watford's Jerome Sinclair, as he said the first penalty shout could have never been a penalty. He just kicked the floor and stacked it. And to be honest, I feel it's most likely that scenario to be the way that it happened. But it wasn't clear cut, so it wasn't given. And so I've got to say that it was obvious that that one wasn't going to be given compared to the other one, because it wasn't so expected. But had it been given, I would have been slightly frustrated. As for the player that did it, Jerome Sinclair, well, he's just joined Gianfranco Zola's Birmingham City on loan until the end of the season. The final person to comment was Jadams, and he said, what an FA Cup run, but how far can we go? Cooper looks good and Hutchinson could find it hard to get back in the team. And to this one, I say, I reckon it'll be much harder in the next round of the FA Cup as both teams will want it and they'll both be battling to prove that they can go as far as they can go. I mean, Derby County, let's take a look at it. Derby County, they're a championship side. They're doing really well in the league. They're going to want an FA Cup run to go alongside it. And well, Leicester, I think they may not want it as much. Obviously, they may go for it because they're still in the Champions League and they're still trying to battle that Premier League survival. So if we do beat them, then let's just see how far we can go. As for Cooper, yes, he has been a great signing and it's also good to see him score his first goal of the season. Hutchinson is going to struggle so much to get in this team, but if he stays and he fights, then he hopefully can get back in Harris's 11. This week's Loan Watch saw Greg Wild not feature at all for League One side Northampton Town as they lost 2-1 away to Walsall. Dropping down the league and going to League Two, we have two players, those being Sid Nelson and David Ford. Let's start with Sid Nelson. He played 90 minutes for Newport County in their 1-1 draw with relegation contenders Cheltenham Town. This point is a huge point for Newport County as they are 3 points off of Kevin Nolan's Notts County side. And here's a stat for you. Since Sid has joined the Welsh side, they've picked up 6 points in 5 games. Before he arrived, they were on 9 games without a win. I obviously mentioned David Ford, but how did he do for Portsmouth when they took on Wycombe Wanderers? Well, Ford played the full 90 minutes, but he didn't keep a clean sheet as they lost 1-0. This result puts Pompey 7th in the league table and 2 points off of falling out of the playoffs. Not to mention, this is the second week in a row that Ford hasn't kept a clean sheet. Chris Twaddock and Cowan-Hall both played a part in Braintree Town's FA Cup trophy game against Dulwich Hamlet. This game ended 0-0. Twaddock played 90 minutes while Farrell came on in the 61st minute for the Irons. Kyron Mundle-Smith's Three Bridges side drew 1-1 with Cheltenham Town. Mundle-Smith had to settle for coming on in the 81st minute to play for his side. Alfie Pavey was the final player out on loan and his Hampton and Richmond Borough FC drew 2-2 with Eastbourne Borough. Pavey did play the full 90 minutes, however he didn't affect the game with a goal. If we take a look at Millwall's matches, the first is against Walsall, and there's not really much to say apart from Walsall defensively were outstanding. They looked like they wanted only the point, but would counter-attack really smartly as they set up brilliantly to just stop Millwall scoring goals. Obviously, my analogy is I see them doing really struggling in the first half. That's the best way to put it. And, well, it looks like their managers said, you know what, we're not really getting it right in terms of moving forward, and Millwall looked like they could grab one against us. So let's just sit back in our own half, defend, and hopefully break on the counter-attack and get a goal. It seems the best way they've got about it. And Millwall, well, we didn't really do well. We had a poor game and we just kept giving them the ball, and we had 9 shots, but none of them were actually on target. Quite a frustrating game for the Lions, but Walsall, congratulations. That was a great move by the manager, John Whitley there. Mill's second game was much better though as the Lions ran away with it, winning 2-0. Jake Cooper and Steve Morrison grabbed the goals for the Lions. Cooper's goal was from a corner and was eventually bundled over the line. And well, Farrell Lawson headed the ball over the bar for Coventry. Very unlucky there. And Marcus Tudguy, pretty close to half-time, managed to curl an effort wide of the goal. Now, in terms of the second half, Morrison had a deflected shot that could have almost made it too. Literally, what happened was Gregory had the ball. He played it to him after the keeper was off his line, and unfortunately, it was blocked. But Morrison did make it 2-0 after having to tap the ball in, thanks to Fred having an effort saved by Lee Burge. This week, we've actually got a player of the week instead of a player of the game, and I'm going to give it to Jake Cooper for his great defensive performance against Walsall. Well, my analogy is we didn't concede, so that's good enough. And he also did score against Coventry, so I think he's the rightful owner of the player of the week this week. Into the final section of the podcast, and yes, that's right, it is the Millwall news. This week, there are 3 stories, ranging from the FA Cup draw to Paris Cowan-Hall leaving the Lions. The first story comes from the FA Cup as Millwall have been drawn against Derby County or Premier League champions Leicester City. Now, the team that we'll be playing will not be known until Wednesday this week, but we will be welcoming one of those down to the Den on the 18th of February, and I cannot wait to see how the Lions perform in that one. Moving on to the next story, story, and well, this is a huge story coming from Ben Thompson. He signed a contract extension to stay with us till the summer of 2020. I cannot wait to see Ben staying in a Millwall shirt and not leaving. Obviously, Millwall is his love of a club. Thompson said all he wants to do is play his football for Millwall, and this deal offers him some stability and gives him an understanding of his future. Neil Harris said it's important to keep our best young players at the club as they are our future. He also added that this deal is a clear sign that we have been liking what Ben is doing in a Millwall shirt. The final story of this week is that Paris Cowan-Hall has left the Lions after mutual agreement to terminate his contract. Paris only played 11 times for the Millwall and spent most of his time out on loan to Wycombe Wanderers, while he also had a spell out at Bristol Rovers on loan. Paris has actually just joined Wycombe on a free transfer till 2019, a deal that makes sense for him, so we wish him well. So that is all we got time for today at least. Do feel free to put your questions and opinions in the comments section for the next Talk to Wall. However, before I go, don't forget to put your score predictions for the Southend United game in the comments section, as next week I'll be covering the game and highlighting the good and bad points. And why don't you tell me your opinions of the match and Millwall as a whole? So like, comment, subscribe, and of course I will see you guys next week for the next Talk to Wall. But until then, goodbye.